Hello, my beautiful people. How are you doing? So, I was contemplating, I was just here, and I come across this word, and I believe it is for someone. It comes from Mark 6, and I'll read it. It's a bit of a long reading, but I'll read it. It says, it's Mark 6 from verse 30, let's say 35, but I'll give a bit of a background. Let's say start from verse 30. It says, at once Jesus realized the power had gone out of him. He turned around and the crowd and asked, who touched me? This was when the girl the woman who had an issue of blood touched Jesus. And mind you, in the middle of this, there was a man who was, as Jesus was looking around, there was a man who had asked Jesus and said that his daughter was sick, and asked if Jesus could go to his house, say a word, and say a word. Sorry about that. Say a word, and for her to be healed. And then, in the midst of all of this, now he's hoping that Jesus is on his way. He has been entrusting God on this, and he's seeing that things are moving. And all of a sudden, an interruption happens on the way. This woman who was tired with whatever was happening in her life, and in her case, it's very interesting. On one side, there's a man who has been praying, and is waiting for Jesus to move and come and touch his daughter, for his daughter to be alive. On the other hand, there is also a woman who is in big trouble, and it's interesting because the young girl was 12 years old, and this woman had been in infirmity for 12 long years. Now, the desperation of these two determined their results. Now, that's not what I want to talk about today, but just look at it that way. So, on the other hand, now this woman is in trouble. She's like, I'm tired with my situation. I am done. I cannot take this anymore. And instead of sitting and waiting and hoping that Jesus would move towards her direction, of praying that Jesus would move towards a direction, what she said, you know what? I will move towards his direction. I'm going to align myself and make sure I become so close to him that I can touch him. If only I can just touch him, everything that I'm going through will be sorted. And that is exactly what happened. Now, when this is happening, and Jesus is like, no, somebody touched me because power left me, and this woman is terrified, and all of that is happening. Somebody comes and say to this man, your daughter is dead. Do you know how it feels that I've entrusted God this whole time? I've done all the right things. I was waiting for him to come because he said that he's coming. So he gave me his words, and I could see things moving. But in the midst of that, all my hope, everything was just gone. That would have been, the end of it. And maybe he would be like, but Jesus, why did you do this to me? If only you could come on time. But anyway, so when the Bible says, overhearing what they say, Jesus turned to him and told him, do not be afraid. Just believe. I don't know whose word it is today. Maybe, just maybe, the situation looks dead. And maybe, just maybe, it looks like there are no possibilities anymore. And maybe, just maybe, it looks impossible. You believed, you trusted that this is what God had said, and you saw things moving. You saw the signs. You saw Jesus visiting you. You saw Jesus visiting your house. But yet things did not go the way you thought they would go, or the way you were promised or you believed that would go. This is what Jesus is saying to you today. Do not be afraid. Even though it looks dead, I am the life. Just believe. And then the Bible continues to say now, he did not let anyone, now Jesus did not let anyone follow him to the man's house, except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. But they laughed at him. And after he put them all out, after he told them, leave, 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 he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, Talita Kumi, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders to not let anyone know about this, and he told them to give her something to eat. There's so many lessons we get from this passage. 1, when everything seemed dead, Jesus said, believe, do not be afraid. 2, he restricted who had access to him and the father of this child in this situation. Not everyone can go with you in certain seasons in your life. Others, because of their words, because of their lack of faith, because of maybe even the positions of your hearts their hearts towards you that you didn't know, may be so discouraging and kill your belief completely. And in the end of the day, that you fail to have the conducive enough for whatever God had promised you to come to life. Mind you, like right now, that just a scripture comes to me that a seed, unless it dies, it cannot come to life. This is literally a manifestation, an example of a seed. Children are seeds, right? That it died so life can be manifested, so there can be a demonstration of the power of life that is found in Jesus Christ. So one, we see that anytime something is going wrong in your life, take a step back. Do not be afraid. Continue to put your trust in Jesus, knowing that he says in John 10 that the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I came that you may have life and life abundant. Know that he means well and he wants your life to be full of life. 2, restrict who has access to you, your secret place, your prayer. Who do you involve in your situations in this season? Because they will determine your results. And 3, as Jesus said, do not let anyone know about this. There are things, just keep them to yourself. Just keep them to yourself. And you see, no matter how bad a situation is, we see this in this scripture of Mark 5. We see no matter how bad the situation is, this girl was already dead. The presence of Jesus, who is life in himself, is able to bring it back to life. And it doesn't take energy. So if anything is dead in your life, the first thing you seek is isolate yourself and seek his presence first. His presence, let him come into you. Let his presence overshadow you, overshadow that situation, and see the wonders that will happen. So I'm encouraging you today. This is your word today. But the Lord is saying, do not be afraid. Just believe. Just seek his presence, and everything, no matter how much you've lost, no matter how dead it is, it will come back to life. Be blessed and just believe.